Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the 9-time GSL champion, the Terran of the Red, the man, the myth, the Maru, facing off and standing in his way. The Protoss in the blue, the Maru, the wall. It's showtime. In a best of 7, Terran versus Protoss semi-finals to the Pigsty Festival, number 7. $10,000 on the line, and before we get started, and it looks like we're getting started very early, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, or maybe even subscribe. And we got the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,819 likes on this video, on this cast. I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I can do in my life, but thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than Showtime, who not only has he been engineering bay blocked, but he's getting proxy reapered simultaneously. So the double layer cheese here from Maru to start things off here on Ruby Rock. And while there's a zealot, all it could do is kind of angrily trudge towards the Reaper and hope to buy some time. He's going to go straight for the engineering bay, ignoring all of this. Showtime responds with the pylon in the top right corner. The probes are pulled off the line. And the citizen's arrest is attempted, but the Reaper easily evades. The Stalker, it might be enough to actually take it out. One more hit, jumps around the corner and knocks it out. We're not allowed to show that on screen, all right? Don't want to get demonetized too early. Also a bit of a graphical bug. Okay, well, an eye for an eye might leave the whole world blind. And that would really hurt because you need detection to scout for Dark Templar. There is a Twilight Council in production. In the top right corner of the map, there is an SCV scouting for similar shenanigans, though not quite so extensively. It's going to find it. So Showtime is going to counteract the relatively mild and not particularly committed cheese that Maru did. The engineering bay block and the proxy reaper, and because the probe scout was so early, clearly prepared for, he's gonna delve a little deeper, a little darker, with a shrine to the rank 1 player in the world, at least by dark, but a dark shrine in the top right corner of the map, unscouted, unsolicited, unwarranted, and possibly unstoppable. Maru, with a second command center on the way, trying to dictate the pace of the game. This is a very common thing for Terrans. You don't want to let the Protoss really do anything they want, because especially Terrans will tell you that's a recipe for disaster. But Showtime, well known for his defensive gameplay, you don't get nicknamed the Wall because of your intense and reckless aggression. Believe it or not, it's not ironic. The German's not known for it, but 3 command centers for Maru. He's going flying DTs. Cloak Banshees are on the way, but the Dark Templar should be available well before. And the Zealot actually goes into the slot and blocks out the Reaper. Knocks it out. And, you know, Maru's going to start getting suspicious, I think. He can do math, I assume. He got into the base. There is 1 gate and no tech. Why? All right, just that one letter. Why? He's not going to build a Raven blindly. It could be a proxy Stargate. He's getting Cyclones. In fact, he's holding his Cyclones near his base. Maru with the 3CC going the complete other direction economically. Almost an eco cheese at this point. The first command center is expected. The second is a lot. And the Dark Templar here. Let's go to the Maru camp. Does he see it? He sees the shimmer, but the SCVs were in the way. Oh no! The scan right off the bat. But if the DT gets out of range, he locks on with the second shot. And can I get a referee? Can we see a replay on that? He was past the line. All right, he had at least 1 foot over the line, but I think you need both. So the projectile was in the air and it was close, but he didn't have 2 toes over the line, which means that Maru unable to slam dunk that touchdown, but instead he goes for the 3-point goal. I've spoken, though some of you might regret it, which I'd beg the question of why you're here. But the Banshee does have Cloak done as well, and well, Showtime will have an observer momentarily. Not sure if he noticed the Banshee on the way over. There is a shield battery nearby, but it doesn't quite cover the entire mineral line. You might be able to pick off a few of the probes while they're mining, but it takes a sip of the shield battery near the Nexus. And loses 1. The other Dark Templar, there's a Raven out, so neither side, once again, jousting one another with the early pressure. But you can really tell that both these players are not committed to the cheese. just willing to partake on occasion. All right? It's not a habit. I could stop anytime I want. And they've already stopped. Because Maru has 3 command centers, 3 racks behind. And Showtime is researching Blink on his proxy Twilight. Maru may find it, but he's not going to stop Blink, I don't think. He's looking for it. He knows it's out there somewhere because of the severe lack of... Oh, if he hadn't built the gate, then maybe he could have gotten away with it for a little bit longer. But losing the Twilight and the Dark Shrine... Well, if he ends up losing them, the Stalkers are on the way across the map, and Maru smells danger. Remarkably spicy, by the way. But the Stalkers have Blink, and the Cyclones are not going to commit to taking out the Twilight, but it might already be too late. He blinks in, and he blocks him out of his own base, spreading the damage out well, and kills both Cyclones, though a siege tank will stop any further aggression. Showtime with a great pick-off there. The Banshee going to test the waters back in the main base, but already heavily bruised and actually just going to fly straight out. The shield battery means the Banshee would have to work very hard to get any damage done and likely get picked off before it does so. Double upgrades from Maru. Remember, he has those 3 command centers, so the worker count is, despite Showtime having a 3rd base, very similar. And with mules mixed in, that still means Showtime should have an income lead, but mules, yeah, they fudge those numbers a bit. Ah, the Banshee. Well, I don't know if he meant to do this. A little weird stutter step. He's going to go for the Dark Shrine with it. And if he drags... So this is another one of those awkward scenarios. I'm not talking about the Stalkers curving their shots up into the high ground, but if he pulls Stalkers back and an Observer to deal with this, they're not on the front pressuring. Maru pulling back the moment he doesn't know where the Stalkers are, but... Yeah, and moving the band... Like, the detail here from both sides. Really just... probing for weakness, sometimes literally, as we saw earlier, but Showtime with Stalkers to make taking a 3rd base difficult. The Banshee drawing some attention. 3 Stalkers making their way up to the top right. The Dark Shrine, shield stripped away, and the health itself, but he didn't bring an Observer with it, and the Dark Shrine may suffer. So I doubt he wanted to use it for at least quite a while yet anyways. We've got a Colossus in production. Extended Thermal Lance has begun, and mine's much further along. His charge, not quite there yet, able to join up with the army. And the Observer's there. Jimmy, that doesn't matter! How many times? The internet tubes have been all over the place. Like and subscribe so I can afford internet pipes. Something like that. Maru scans the bottom left corner. It's that important to know. If he commits his full army, he wants to know if he's doing it for a valid reason, or if he's committing and might end up suffering economically in the long run. So knowing that this is the only 4th base and the only opportunity, anti-armor missile actually Dorito does some of the Terran army, a single Colossus without range, and even going for... Oh no, the anti-armor missile coating absolutely everything, devastating to the defensive capabilities and their self-esteem. The siege tanks are moving in. Both sides have an army that could deal with the other. But it's going to come down to control. The army supplies are almost dead even. Showtime has a few shield batteries at the back to help patch things up. +1 ground weapons is almost complete. I think he's waiting that out. 3 seconds. Extended Thermal Lance is a few more seconds out, but he doesn't have them. He's waiting. Another anti-armor missile, and he's just going to go for it. The Guardian Shield to the south. The Colossus to the north. And charging in the front line of Marauders, helping out a lot. Actually tries to go to the back. The Colossi reaching over the top, but the Lances just don't extend far enough. Showtime losing a lot of charge lots off the front line, but as he's able to break through the Marauders and the siege tanks, the Colossi become an existential threat. If I can suffer through that word, but somehow the Ravens survive. Maru, so diligent with controlling his Raven, not just losing it to the first Stalkers when it wanders into the fray, but making constant use. And I really think the difference in these fights has been the anti-armor missile, both in the timing and the engagement itself. Showtime forced to fight with significantly weaker units, and maybe not quite at the time he wanted. He still has the Twilight Council in the top right. Hasn't rebuilt any flavor of Templar, though he did build a backup Twilight back at home. Showtime's down 25 supply or so. And he's down on probes as well. He was focused on building units as quickly as possible. But it's only held the line for now, just like the force field's locking in a few of these units. Though maybe not enough to make the difference. He's playing with fire here, and I'm not talking about the Lances. If he goes too far forward, Maru can crush this army. That's only 2 Colossi. It is a bit of a choke point. The sentries teasing, tickling, doing their best. A third Colossus changes the equation a lot. That's enough to incinerate Marines instantly. They do plenty against the Marauders. Blinks to the side, tries to pick off the Raven. But so far, it's Showtime is getting Edgar Allan Poe'd. The Marauders very deliberately at the front. They're taking the heat. Quite literally, as bearing the brunt of the Colossus fire and allowing Maru to stay the course. But 9 gateways back at home. Well, 8 gates and then the 1 depowered. Showtime double expanding behind this. He's successfully contained Maru. For now. Disruptor's on the way. He's done what he could to keep Maru at bay, and he tried to force the issue, but again, these two, some of the most technical players for their races in the game. Such a distinct difference from Maru's normal counterpart hero and his very, very much different style of Protoss, if you can call it that. More like a acid trip combined with never being told no as a child. But I digress. Another anti-armor missile, and another fight will be taken. EMP softens up the shields, meaning the Vikings will do so much damage, but at the same time, the main base being gutted by charge lots. The Colossi, 2 of them successfully recalled out, which is pretty huge. A colossal move, if you would. And now the charge lot's going to undercut a lot. But Maru, he may lose the battle somewhat. And even that's arguable. But overall, I think he's still winning the war. He's got the upgrades. He kept the 4th base. He's going to clean up the charge lots. Most of the SCVs were able to escape before the charge lots sliced through the mineral line. 73 workers for Maru to just 70 for Showtime, though his are distributed more efficiently throughout the bases. The disruptors being added in. Archons in the mix as well. But there are 6 ghosts alongside Maru's army, making it that much less effective to rely on those Archons. Though, forcing the EMPs onto the Ghosts. That Raven has 0 kills, but it's been an accomplice to dozens. Meanwhile, the charge lots dropped in before the turret line could come up. Showtime just abandoning the Nexus. Chooses not to fight, probably a smart move. And a lot of the Vikings are back at home. There are 3 Colossi. If he could pick a fight with the Vikings clearly distracted, single Marauder left behind. 4 Vikings patrolling for the Prism, especially since they didn't actually kill it, is a significant chunk of his anti-air. It's all of it. It's all 4 Vikings, which, well, I assume Maru actually, wow. Scanning both, 2 birds. He scans and sees there's no alternative Nexus, and if he caught a glimpse of the Warp Prism, I'm sure he wouldn't have complained. But unfortunately for Showtime, the Warp Prism going right through the center actually manages to evade just slightly. He's going to repower the gate to be able to warp in, as Maru's kind of ignored it for a while now. He dealt with the Dark Shrine, and hasn't had the time or the attention to spare. Kind of the same thing, but when you think about it. Like and subscribe for Existential Dread. A scan? That scan? How? How does that hit the Nexus? Maru would... Oh, I guess it's on the outer edge. Maru really edging with those scans today, which, some people are into that. 4 command centers in production, a fusion core as well, advanced ballistics caduceus reactor, and he's straining his bio army, literally strung out by the command center. One by one, they march across the field. But it's a long line and a whole lot of Terran. And this time, this fight could be devastating for either side, but Showtime will slam in the broadside. And the concave, I'm not sure who's favored here, but another anti-armor missile. Finally, the Raven goes down. But I think that anti-armor missile alone will keep Showtime at bay. He preemptively cancels the base. Meanwhile, Showtime, he does have the gateway repowered at the once-in-future proxy. But Maru building more, adding more CCs than a very poor corporate email chain right now. And +2 ship weapons, Ghost Cloaking, Caduceus Reactor for double the medevac energy regen. I wouldn't be surprised if Liberator Range is behind it. But he hasn't relied on it so far. We're just blazing past that, all right? The live experience, give or take. Oh, but Maru from both sides. Who's flanking whom? The Disruptor's behind, fires off a double barrel. Maru, decent dodges. Mitigates a lot of the damage. The Colossi are spending more time retreating, not attacking. And several of them will die. Oh, what a save! Into the Warp Prism, juggling some more. Disruptor on the front line could be targeted. Mostly so. Tries to target another one. Another Disruptor. He picks up, he gets out, but Showtime. The wall will hold. And now the Vikings, the spoils of war. The Colossi were knocked down, but the Vikings will be in turn. There's not enough bio here to deal with this. And Showtime will chase him across the field, but it seems like every single time this happens, it looks like Showtime takes the advantage, but then we look at the supply. Now, it's a little misleading because of how Protoss warp-ins work. Like, Terran has to work up to it. They gotta queue up their units, whereas Protoss, in the span of a few seconds, can warp in another 15 to 20 supply. So, but a gap of more than 20 is notable. Just want to make it notable. Meanwhile, a whole bunch of probes. A nuclear missile is in production. This command center will be denied, but Maru, a base for a base. And, well, the command center is taken out. The charge lot's in the third base. The Liberator's not really sieged up to deal with this. And again, this has been such a chess match between these two. Jammed in, but the Stalkers will pile in afterwards and take out the Liberators. 13 SCVs. But Maru goes for another base as well. The base trade is in full swing here. As Showtime, a Venn diagram of freedom over the top. And Maru, does he have enough to break through? And does Showtime have enough to break out? Showtime will be driven out for the most part. He's still brawling. He has a Disruptor recharging. The Liberators are on siege, but Maru's in the main base. And the Liberator's on the ramp. Does he have a recall? He does, technically. Will Maru's... Oh, the nuke! The nuke! He's zoning with a nuke, and you can't... He's recalling to a Nexus that's already overrun. Here comes Showtime up the ramp. Just a few Stalkers to try to chase it down. The Colossi doing what damage it can. But the damage from Maru's army might be too much. The Liberators will reposition, but Maru dives into the main, covers his attack with a nuclear missile. And while it might be denied... Wait, did the nuke land? It did throughout all this. I don't think it hit anything important, but it depowered some of this. And Maru's reinforcements are on the way across. And he's offering Showtime a cup of liberty. Unfortunately, Showtime, unable and also unwilling, but mostly unable to drink it. Pops another Ruptor, and I can't help but feel the momentum has permanently shifted. Showtime has been hanging with Maru, but now Maru's hung him out to dry. Terran through absolutely everything. The base trade just keeps going around in circles, but Maru able to cut off Showtime before he can come back home to defend. Despite the damage he did, Showtime didn't have quite enough to stop those battle groups. But an incredibly... What a display of both these players. Both very... I hate using the word because it makes me feel dumb while also feeling smart, but cerebral players. They're clearly both thinking several steps ahead. Of course, this is a real-time strategy game, and those first two words come first. And that's not supposed to be profound, but, like, speed is necessary. Strategy is helpful. The majority of the time, but both of them able to execute on both things. But I think, for the most part, Maru continues to have the advantage. And, you know, coming in as the heavy... Honestly, Maru, arguably the favorite against anyone but Hero, but only because Hero, you know, is Hero. He's been beating Cyril, taking on Clem as Protoss, but still. Well, I mean, that's how Clem plays now. I don't know if Clem's Protoss versus Terran is better than Showtime's. I think has a better record overall. But when Showtime has time to prepare, he can show you what it's truly time for. I don't just mean liking and subscribing, so I thought about it. But also, it seemed like a prepared response. I don't know how freestyle that Dark Shrine was. You usually don't YOLO out a Dark Shrine unless you have an idea where you're going. It didn't end up, just like the Reaper and NG Bay block, it didn't end up really having a big impact. But only because both players were so willing to go to the next step. Each of them could have doubled down on their early cheese. But that runs the risk of losing everything. That's what all-in means. Or so I understand. So, now we're on Celestial Enclave, which is a decidedly more defensive map, except for when it very much isn't. and I keep saying things that sound obvious but actually do have a real meaning that isn't just platitudes. The budget base, the back base. Blink Stalkers, Warp Prisms, Medevacs. Mostly Medevacs. The most droppable location. You've got a whole staging area you can send units in, and there's no easy way to defend it overall. Occasionally we'll even see Mothership recall into it, even against Terran. But this base, it only has 5 mineral patches and a single gas geyser. You've got your employee entrance where only workers can get through mineral magic. But of course, air units, warp-ins, teleports, drops are all very capable. So, as long as you literally and figuratively cover your bases, you can usually defend 2.5 to 3 bases much easier than usual. But, with that big caveat of, you've got to cover your butt. Words for the wise. Maru is gonna break out the Bronze Leg Hero strats. He's just gonna hide a command center. I love this because it's not even like... It's not so far off the beaten path that, one, if it gets scouted, he can't save it. But the chances of it being scouted are quite low, at least early. Like, and because it's this map, it's even harder for Showtime to get an accurate gauge of what he's dealing with. Did he go sentry? No, he's not going to have a hallucination. He's not going to have observers for quite a while. So he'll have no knowledge of this potential. Oh, what a... And what he doesn't know can very much hurt him. Again, Maru with the 3cc, and this time Showtime. No, we're not doing it again. We'll have absolutely no idea. And why would you scout for it? Like, so the key factor in defense, much of the time, is a ramp to the natural. That denies a lot of the more basic threats, like Hellion run-bys. You can still do them. It's just way riskier. It's a lot easier to choke this off and lock it down. So the ramp to the natural, in and of itself, is a big part of making it much easier to defend. And another thing about... Another reason why this might work. I mean, we saw last game, Maru only scouted for the hidden stuff because he knew it had to be out there somewhere. But it's a lot harder to scout for the lack of something like this. Like, Maru's base still looks pretty normal. I mean, will Showtime realize there's the scan, and the observer didn't get far enough. Maru was hunting for the observer. That's what he was doing. Well, I mean, that and a hallucinated Phoenix, maybe, but Maru, keeping him in the dark. The cloak is on the way, but he started a Raven immediately. And Showtime seems to have no interest whatsoever. He's going charge, which is kind of crazy. He's taking what would usually be considered a pretty greedy third if Maru didn't already have a base. If this mines for like a minute, I'd drop all your mules there. So, there's different theories. But in my opinion, if you're going to drop mules, you drop them at the hidden base. So that way, if you do get pushed back, you still have mineral patches to work with back at home. And that's exactly what Maru's doing. Meaning, I'm pretty much Maru. 100%. Thank you. Make sure to buy coaching for $1,000. Well, it's not that much cheaper than that. You can check out on Patreon. Oh, what a scout. Showtime. Gets a probe in, which actually gets better scouting than maybe an observer could. Somewhat awkwardly. Will he really notice that that third base is late? So far, he's made... I mean, the map is dark and unusually full of Terrans. Oh, and Maru's going Mech against Protoss in this economy? Except he has a way better economy than Showtime knows. He's not going for a third base, it's a fourth base. Numbers matter. Especially if you're mechanically inclined. Oh, every minute that goes by is so important. The big issue with Mech, the biggest struggle, is the infrastructure. Is getting the factories up and having actual units by the time the Protoss has an army that can attack. But Showtime has been very passive. He's just letting Maru kind of build up at what he thinks is a slightly slower rate. But then the Phoenix is going to come in. He's going to realize quite quickly he's been had. Cloak Banshee. He did actually finish Cloak for the one Banshee. Just going to keep him busy over here. Might be able to get through one probe. I try hard enough. But unfortunately, the Mech army is going to be fully operational by the time anything Showtime does arrives. And there's no real great options for attacking on the ground. You can go through the rocks, but that'll take time and give Maru plenty of time to set up. Try to come up the ramp. I mean, he just needs to scout the base. Mech, usually the struggle is getting upgrades. Getting enough gas to get upgrades, factories, and units. Usually you have to choose like 2 out of 3 and then work your way up to the 3rd. But Maru, right now, with 1,200 gas per minute, well, you could certainly corner the market, especially now. So, Showtime is in typical D-Mauer fashion, just setting up to have all the potential options on defense. I think last game was the exception. This is more like no rush 10 minutes, all right? The real strategy is happening in the production tab. The he's looking... His star senses are tingling, I feel. Like, he's wondering if he's missing something. But he hasn't figured it out. He even sent out a hallucinated Phoenix, but he didn't scour the bases. I don't even know, like, if at any point, depending on how long this game is, he'll realize. God, Maru, that's the simplest move. But unbelievably effective. This is a way stronger army than it should be. It's going to have 1-1. Okay, Maru just loves setting up these strainers for his army. This isn't Brood War. You can lower multiple depots. No. Well, this is worst case scenario is he could move out. Yes, we've decided it's attack time. And he's going to find the army right on the field, but there's that Raven, anti-armor missile. The siege tank's in like, the worst possible position. This is absolutely premium engagement here for Showtime. But even then, it's not enough to break the army. The 1-1 is already done, giving Maru an upgrade advantage for his Mech army. And the Cyclones are easily able to pick off the smaller amounts of units Showtime's putting on the table. And this game's starting to look more one-sided than a Mobius Strip right now. Maru just walks across and kills. This is not supposed to happen at this level. This is the semifinals, the $10,000 tournament. You're not... Hell, this is starting to look like a bop. I mean, the probes are being incinerated by the Hellbats as Showtime tries to put together some sort of defense. There's only one siege tank, so there should be enough to kind of push this back, maybe? But Maru's building 5 clones and 4 Hellbats at a time. Like, Showtime is surviving, but he's definitely not thriving. Immortals aren't even that helpful against the clones because they can't stay in range, even if they do a ton of damage against them. You have to hit them. That's kind of an important point. He's blinking back, depowers some of the gates. And blinks forward, picks off another, but wait, there's more! And behind this, Maru's getting 2-2 upgrades. Like, he still has the worker advantage. Showtime just getting bullied all the way back. I think it was the upgrades that turned the tide. Not just, like, the engagement angle was about as bad as it gets for Maru. But his units didn't die quick enough because he had the armor, because he was able to take out enough. He already has all the mech upgrades he needs. Magfield Accelerator, 50% more lock-on damage. Infernal Pre-Igniter for extra bonus versus light on the Hellbats. Technically Hellions, but he's walking them around this time. Waddling, like penguins, I've heard. Very hot penguins, so tropical penguins. Anyways, well, Maru just tearing through everything here. And another Immortal. The tide continues. And even if the momentum is already too great. Even if Showtime, if even this entire army just spontaneously combusted, it would still be a desperate situation. And I don't think it's him that's combusting. Maru Oh, did he ever scout? The entire game did not scout. There's a chance he immediately went to the replay and saw it, in which case that would explain a lot. But Maru, with such a simple, yet so effective change. Not even really change, but just medium risk, very high reward strategy. If it gets shut down or he's not able to retreat with it by the time... Well, if it gets scouted immediately, like right after finishing and picked off and he doesn't get any counter damage, that's when it goes bad. And that sounds like a lot, but against things like Blink Stalkers, that's not unlikely. But he got completely away with it the entire game. And Showtime, through the rest of the series, might not even know that was the strategy. Maru, where are you going? Oh, no. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Not one, but two, but I guess this could be the NG Bay block. I don't think the timing's right for it, though. I think it might be something a little more forward. When Maru decides... Well, so far in this series, Maru has yet to build his entire base in his base. Last game was the least dramatic incarnation, but... And look at Showtime. Scouting for the most obvious proxy location. How many... Jimmy, get off the phone! I don't care if she wants to talk. All right, your mother can wait. Well, 2 racks. It's Marauders. Well, I guess it could be... No, it's Marauders. Yeah. I was gonna say Reapers, or even... No, it's Marauders. He only has 1 gas. There's the tech lab. A Nexus on the way. And, well... Okay, so... This is hard to read. He's looking around like this might be a Macorax. One that's just there to make him panic, but... The fact he's doing this off 1 gas, I think, might be throwing Showtime off a bit. He's not building... He needs to be building a Zealot. He's misread this entirely. He's not even speaking the same language. He desperately needs to be building a Zealot. He doesn't have a... If this was 1 Rax Reaper, obviously this would be okay, but... No shield battery? No Zealot? No preventing Maru from match point. This may be over before it started. I don't know. Why are you calling it so early? He doesn't... He's gonna die. But those Maru fans out there, like, that's the Maru I know. You can't spell Marauder without Maru. So, here we are. I'd love to be wrong. But for once... Oh, yeah. There's no... Oh. It's a disaster. Look away, Protoss. I have no mouth, but I must balance wine. I don't... The Marauders are... I'm all about that with an engineering bay. For some reason, it draws a shot, which is already too many. Why, though? I don't know. Showtime didn't think this was Marauders. I think the 1 gas threw him off. I don't think you usually do this with 1 gas. But Maru, again, we had the jousting match, but now Maru has his number. He's calling him repeatedly. He's like the spam calls that for some reason never can stop. You don't want to answer, but then a bunch of Marauders show up at your door and, well, you didn't have a shield battery. Should have answered the calls. I can help you with 50% off your shield battery insurance if you like and subscribe today. So, make sure to, Now, there is one thing you can do. All right. Have you been struggling against Terran, against Protoss, against Xur? Well, struggle no longer. Simply watch instead of play, which you can do easily by liking and subscribing. Thank you. Make the difference in your life. And maybe cheese will no longer raise your blood pressure, though I think it does if it Anyways, consult a dietitian or a YouTuber near you. I'm sure they're both qualified. But I digress, and I thank you. And good night. And good luck. And have fun to Showtime, who is reeling desperately here. As we go into game number 4, Maru has completely slapped him around in the last couple games after one very close duel. And the prospects do not look great for Dimawa. This would be one of the biggest comebacks of all time. But we'll see if he has some Kim Kardashian in him. Well, Maru with his barracks at the top of his ramp. Very notable in this series so far, which is half and half at this point. I don't know why he didn't factor in Marauder. Honestly. He convinced himself it was going to be like a Macarax or just a Proxy Reaper, I think. And the first game of the series maybe played into that. Like, the Proxy Reaper with the Engibay block is something you could do off one gas. And maybe Showtime, in trying to cut corners, left himself without an edge. Or he just... You know, sometimes everyone has a plan until somebody puts a barracks near your base. Honestly, that's most of the lab. We've got the factory before CC, but he's only mining with 1 in one gas and 2 in the other. Fun fact, pretty fun. Having 2 and 2 in gas is significantly... The third worker, much like the third worker mining minerals, is significantly less efficient. That third worker actually waits around a little bit in order to mine the gas. It's still much better than long-distance mining, but the first 2 workers are 100% efficiency. The third one, it actually a little depends on the map layout a bit, but it's like 70 to 90%. But still, it is, if possible, always better to have them split than have 3 in one and none in the other. Obviously, most players are not as particular, but Maru may be the most particular, at least as Terran. Cybercore actually Reaper walls. I like the choice to have the Cybercore Reaper wall. Do I? Let me think about that. Was that caster bullshit? He may have built it after he scouted that it could be a Reaper. But we'll see if it ends up being a liability. You only need a single building to shut down the employee entrance on this map. A wider building, so something at least as large as your mother. Hallucinated Phoenix eats a Widowmine hit. It will recharge, thus helping us debate what a mine actually is. Because more accurately, it might be called the Widow Missile Platform and rechargeable, self-sustaining targeting missile. But, you know, that doesn't really roll off the tongue. Widowmine drop heading out. A Stalker will spot it, creating the awkward scenario where the Widowmines have to drop out and try to cover. And, well, Blink isn't done. Can he actually outflank? Is he going to get it? Huh. He might be able to bounce it in with the Reaper. But this is quite a quandary here. 1 Widowmine left behind, but he successfully delayed the drop. Maru will meander back with the medevac. I think he'll give it a quick repair, as half HP is a little bit too risky, even for Maru. Third Nexus on the way, as it is a big commitment to go for at least 3 Widowmines. That is most of your early game, and you're doing the Destiny Cloud Fizz bit, the 1-1-1. The Barracks Factory Star for the boring among us. That's most of your factory time, which, honestly, at some point you kind of just stop using the factory, at least in the mid-game, because you prioritize bio and starport units. We'll see if Maru ends up adding any more, but right now the factory just sitting by cheering everyone on. Typical group project. Observers on the way for Showtime. He's got charge as well, following up Blink. And again, setting up in a defensive posture. The observers, the Widow Mine's now being scattered throughout. Maru repaired his medevac a bit. Not a bite, but a bit. Not to full for some reason. Ran out of minerals. Really? But auto turret. Raven racks up a single kill. The Stalker's still in position to box out the medevac. He boosts and then swerves around immediately upon seeing it. The boys? What? I did not expect this. I mean, it makes sense at this timing. I don't know if he knows for sure he's up against charge, but he's got strong suspicions. And, well, this is spotted by the observer. And every panic button is pulled. Here comes the auto turret in the main, but there is a shield battery. The Widow Mines join up with the main army. Charge is done, incredibly importantly, but +1 weapons, not so much. The force fields, the wall is put up. And it's temporary, but every second counts right now for Showtime. It's all on the line. And the Raven just wanders in. Gets taken out immediately. He has a Guardian Shield, I believe, ready. That's going to be extra important here. But Maru just tearing through. He blinks out of the Widow Mine. Still one remains. Grinding through a whole lot of the charge slots. Depowers 2 gates, but there's still more in the main base. Guardian Shield holding. SCV is getting cut down. Shield batteries helping out so much, but he's still tearing through almost all the gateway units. Shield batteries are draining quickly. More Zealots warped in. Shot down immediately. And probes will have to be pulled. The workers on the front lines for either side. And what could have been an economic windfall here for Showtime turns into a desperate situation as he pulled the probes, and it still wasn't enough. The Marines and Marauders are trickling across the map, but that's enough to drown Showtime so far. A couple more Blink Stalkers. The medevacs still have energy. Still some SCVs rallying SCVs. That's part of it. More probes pulled. Zealots warped in, but the probes are out in front of everything. Oh, their heart's in the right place, but now they're in the unit's lost tab. The Marines, he picks up. Shield battery recharged. The Stalkers will chase, pick off one medevac. And he has to chase him for all he's worth, and ideally more. As Showtime actually behind on workers. Needs to try to carry the momentum. Well, the SCVs are rallying across the map, so it's not exactly ideal here. The Blink. Blinks forward. Right now it's 8 Blink Stalkers. There's 7 Marauders, 8 Marines, 3 medevacs. But they're not all here. Warping in what he can, one by one. Trying to pick off, gets a Marauder. Blinks back. Stalker, badly bruised. Will get re-shielded. And there's a couple sentries. Might be able to pick off that Widow Mine or use it against him. The Observer, knocked out. But the Widow Mine will be chased. Blinks over to the side. Still tries to get some extra shots. Really? Force field. Emotional support field. But Showtime holds by the skin of his non-existent Protoss teeth. He's not dead yet. The only problem is the probe count. If he had lost 10 less workers, he's lost 35 this game. But he just didn't have quite enough. And now, the thing, Maru just needs to build the same army. The M&M, the Marines, the Marauders, the Mines, the Medevacs. These are the right units to do the same thing again. And Showtime has not had nearly the economy to turn it around or tech up. Because right now he's treading water. The Sentry is gaining energy. The best he can do when it comes to spending his gas and getting some value out of it. And he still has the +1. Great force fields. Maru slurps up a few of the Marauders, and the force fields immediately turn against Showtime, but he pulls back the charge lots quickly. Picks off another Marauder. And it's working. He's holding. The force fields have been incredible, which is actually very rare in this matchup, uncomfortably so. The Blink Stalkers have to be so careful. He really wants to blink forward, but if he's not careful, even if he blinks back, it could be troublesome. There's a Robo Bay on the way. Maru making a single Liberator. He's back up to 44 workers, and he pulls them again! Here we go! One more for the boys! And with the boys, there's the Robo-Bay is not done. He doesn't have an observer on this army. There's a lot of charge lots. Maru has no upgrades against 1-1. There's going to be a few seconds of warning. That's all he's going to get. And here we go. The force fields are... And that Liberator actually creating quite a quandary here. Now, those force fields are so good. Wow, the wall's wall. But there's still the SCVs drawing so much fire in front. He's going to be able to depower. There's multiple Widow Mines out here. Showtime really trying to figure out how to deal with them, but he doesn't have time to do it. He has to figure it out now. A couple charge lots at the back, cutting off reinforcements. He's going to drag in the shots, but the Widow Mine slams the point home. Another charge lot drags it out. Another couple in the front line. Honestly, it could have been worse. The Stalkers, though. Precious few, and the SCV still leading the charge into the charge lots. Those force fields, I think, working both ways, and mostly for Maru at this point. The Liberator coming forward, but the Widow Mines will stack up onto the charge lots, caught on the wrong side of the force fields. And that single Liberator zoning everything out. Maru. He went for it again. Well, at the force fields again. Showtime holding. The supply is desperate. He's going to pick off another medevac or two. They ran out of energy, but the third Nexus is down. The main advantage Showtime was enjoying through most of this. Widow Mine could be taken out. The medevacs are nearly out of energy entirely. Another warp in. The Robo is taken. Oh, it's getting desperate. All the probes with this. The Nexus itself under heavy fire. He has to go. He can't lose this Nexus. He's going to target it. Showtime has no economy left. He's going to try to pick up Maru. Extract some of the units. A scan. He uses one of his precious scans to know if he just made a game-losing mistake. Because if Showtime had that base, I think Maru would have left the game. But instead, here come the probes! The Trail of Tears across the map. It's mostly probes. He doesn't have enough to rebuild a Nexus. He's gonna finish +2 attack. And everything on the line. And everyone. Another medevac taken out. The probes will help lead. The force fields lock in. The Widow Mines dragged out. Maru retargets the mines. He retargets. He makes sure the majority of the damage. The medevacs are holding. +2 attack is done. There's 2 or 3 medevacs left. The Stalkers. There's barely any units. 50 supply apiece. And the Stalkers blinking back. The probes still brawling. And Showtime doesn't have mules. He has to kill every unit and get on the production. Is he gonna do enough? The probes aren't fighting. The Marauders are stimming. Oh no! Maru pushed to the very brink. Showtime brings the probes across the map. The quest rests on the edge of a knife. And Showtime may have strayed a little too far. What a game. And I feel like, in many ways, 4-0 reflects the outcome of this series. But in many ways, it very much does not. GG! Maru 4. Showtime 0. Maru will move on to the finals, which we will see after you like and subscribe and check out the videos in the next few days. But now this brings us to our anti-spoiler bonus game, which hopefully worked as intended. Showtime versus Young Yakov with a spicy Zerg build. You thought you'd get away today without the Zerg, but no. They show up where you least expect it. That was so close. I want more, but it just strung together. 2 games there easily could have gone either way. 2 games Maru just slapped Showtime around. So, oh, that's heartbreaking. You could tell the heartbreaking with Showtime. Somehow, the best force fields I have seen in years in Protoss versus Terran. Sure, some of them were double-edged, but So often the force fields will be thrown out and they'll either actively work against the Protoss or... Wait, okay, wait. Oh, what? Oh, yeah. Ignoring this. Ignoring the quickly growing elephant in the room. So many times force fields work against the Pro. It's so hard because the force field range is only slightly more than the Marines and Marauders range. So you have to get close enough to potentially lock them in without immediately losing your sentry. And if you're too far... Wild move. If you're too far, then they don't do anything anyways. And then your zealots get trapped. But Showtime partitioning the fight almost perfectly. But just coming up ever so slightly short. Maru, of course. My favorite part actually was the scan at the 4th base. When Maru scanned to see if he needed to leave the game. That's what that was, 100%. But I'm sure the relief... I don't know if Maru can feel anything now, to be honest. Like, actually, no, he gets frustrated. You can see him if you're watching when he's on like webcam and stuff. He gets frustrated, but I do think that was an immediate leave the game situation if Showtime had a mining 4th, but no. Speaking of mining, there is a hatchery at both natcheries. Yep, that's happening. The Zealot working its way through. There's a Queen in production. Young Yakov has gone for... He has 22 drones in total. So he's quite committed to this idea. He does know, because of the Overlord, that Showtime has casually just taken the 3rd base, which is something you do when you get Engineering Bay blocked, as we've seen. But not usually something you do when your opponent is Zergling. So it's a bold move. We'll see if it works out for him. Will the Queen finish? As the Zealot and Adept are chewing through this. But it's going to be very close. But I think just... And with the Zerg... I'm arrived! Didn't think you'd see me today, right, nerds? Brenda. Nerds! Don't keep saying it. I don't... Meanwhile, Showtime sandwiched in his own wall. And, well, this gets awkward real fast. An Oracle is on the way. Showtime giving this absolutely no respect. Which may be underestimating the capabilities. Thankfully, the Adepts slip away. Another Queen is in production. Which, 2 Queens are enough to deal with the Oracle. 1 Queen is not. As the Oracle will actually win straight up. But the 2nd Queen changes the game significantly. And he will be forced back. The Oracle already taken orange HP. And Warp Gate will be straight up denied. And the Oracle driven out of the natural by a Queen. The hatchery is still alive, by the way, and still building queens. Very important here. Another Oracle comes in, but the energy is limited. Gets another sip, and another Queen is in production. And there's no Warp Gate, remember, and no Cyber Core even. So he actually has to start from the bottom of the tech tree. And another Queen. And the Queens are also energy dependent, but not nearly as much so. He's building out of gateways, like a Luddite here. And it's too late. Didn't re-shield it with the battery. I don't know if it was quite in range, but... Another Queen! And I'm on my way! All right, Susan. No, I swear. Okay. Well, thank you, actually. That's kind of huge. I don't know. But the Zergling's just killing the 3rd Nexus, and this has escalated from a annoyance into a potentially game-losing issue. Still no Warp Gate, not enough energy on the Oracles, and soon to be no 3rd Nexus means that Showtime's gonna be yet again left with probes and nowhere to mine. His perfectly manicured defense does not survive. And GG. Yes, from the S-Balls team. I don't know what it stands for, and I don't care to ask. But now, I want to give Showtime some credit. He did win 2 other games in this series, and they were kind of boring and straightforward. So that's how he ended up in the playoffs, by the way. But this one stood out. It worked perfectly as an anti-spoiler game. And I hope you enjoyed as well. Because the suspense on that Maru game, I'm still stressed. And I'm still upset that we don't get more Maru versus Showtime. But Maru wins the day. Showtime, not so much. I feel like I'm doing him a disservice with that bonus game, but it was hilarious when I opened it up. So thank you for watching. I certainly hope you enjoyed. I really hope it made your day a little bit better. I hope to see you next time. But if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our meal tier patrons, bringing in the extra minerals, Big Jiggy Devendor, Kate Mario Suit, and our super Podons, Decro, Humpmaster, Lucas, P. Just that's it. That was the whole name. Sasquatch and Zamo. Glad you still enjoy. And make sure to check out everyone, or at least some of you, if you like. This video Jimmy picked out just for you. Otherwise, good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.